Okay, it's good to be back. Family visiting, studies I'm working on, projects I'm also doing. It's a lot, but I'm happy I'm back and I'm here to review The Last of Us Season 1. Of course, Season 2 is already coming out on Max, but I wanted to check out the show, wanted to watch it from Season 1, and this is my take on it. I wanted this review to come out before my Season 2 review came out. So The Last of Us is, of course, based off the world-breaking game The Last of Us, which I believe came out in the PlayStation and other consoles. I never played it, but I do know the story fairly well. So prior to entering the show, I've got a good idea, a good sense of how some of the story is going to go, some of the main characters, but I don't really remember most of the events, just the big ones. The story, of course, takes place after a global pandemic hits Earth. It's actually explained pretty well. It's in a fictional world, of course, but the fungus is a real thing. The fungus that is, of course, the cause of the pandemic, it is real. It already takes over insects, and the fact that the team thought about getting this real fungus and just stretching it to where it can go to humans, I thought that was cool. And the season begins with a doctor explaining to a talk show host how the fungus works back when the world was okay, all fine and dandy, or as fine and dandy as it can be. And as the conversation goes on, the threat becomes more real and haunting. After this, we're introduced to our main character, Joel, who's one of the most beloved characters I think ever written. The writers of the video game did such a good job at making this character peak. I think they gave him motivations that are so understandable. All of his decision making was smart, it was never dumb, and his story alongside his sharing protagonist Ellie is great. Just take a little pause. Subscribe. Thank you. Hit that bell. Ring a ding 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 ding. So all of that weight goes to one man, Pedro Pascal. And so he takes on this role of this hardened man, this hardened father, not just beat down by life, but by the world. He's a survivor, point blank. Of course, Joe is from Texas. In my mind, I'm trying not to compare Joe from the show to Joe from the video game. I'm trying to separate these two, take them for their own characters, and simply analyze individually how Pedro Pascal's story worked, right? His version of Joe. And that goes for every character here. The Last of Us, of course, follows Joe, who's at this point just a veteran survivor. He takes charge of taking Ellie across states for an important reason. She's very critical to humanity's hope for survival, and given Joel's past, this relationship becomes very interesting between the two, because as the season progresses, Ellie transitions from being simply a package to deliver for Joel to someone very important in his life, and he's been placed into a position in life where he's carrying a role he's failed at before. He's felt that he's failed at before. I like that. And for anyone who hasn't seen or watched The Last of Us, I don't really want to get into the spoilers as to why those barriers are up in the first place, because it hits you. It hits you in the video game and it hits you here in the first episode. But I think those breaking down of the walls moments for Joel, between him and his brother Tommy, between him and Ellie, are some of Pedro Pascal's best acting in the show, specifically in, I believe, episode 6 or 7. And I think these complex emotions of rage, grief, and blankness were carried really well by Pedro Pascal. I really liked his performance here, very believable as that father figure that they're trying to make him be. As for Ellie, played by Ramsey, most of the critique when it comes to either Joe or Ellie, these two as a duo, will have to go to her, Ellie as a character. I think what the show does good for Ellie comes towards the second half of this show, right? Whereas for Joe, it's throughout the whole season where I feel like his character is handled pretty good, sometimes even great. But Ellie's character, I feel like they just failed to give her some redemptive qualities in the first few episodes. There were weird writing choices for her. It just felt like what could have been more effective is if instead of introducing Ellie as someone who's, someone bloodthirsty, ready for violence, always talking back, sometimes even having the one-up on conversations with adults, it just didn't feel realistic. But I think what would have been more effective is showing more of that innocence. She's a kid, man. And I don't think the writers utilized that aspect. I think diving into that innocence would have been more, you know what I'm saying? than simply having her have the verbal high ground against any adult. And since she's a kid, it'll make it seem as if she's, I don't know, highly intelligent. I don't know what they were going with that. It was unrealistic, not justifiable, and I do believe the writers missed giving her some redemptive qualities throughout the first few episodes. But as the season goes and towards the tail end of the season, yeah, man, like, you buy their relationship. And this is where the writers really shined, where the relationship goes from package and transporter to more father and daughter. That was sweet. Those moments were nice. Because in their own way, this is just a very scary reality to both, that they could get this close to somebody in such a dark, harsh, cruel world. Now, along the journey, we see the set pieces. We see the world of The Last of Us. We have encounters with the bloodthirsty clickers, which are the people who have been overtaken by these fungus. And we have encounters with people, which sometimes just goes to show, dude, like in these survival things, sometimes people are worse than the main problem. Sometimes people are worse than zombies in The Walking Dead, and sometimes people are worse than clickers in The Last of Us. Just take a little pause. Subscribe. As for the world, it's well delivered. You buy it. The set pieces obviously are very, very detailed. Sometimes you can tell that these actors are behind green screens, but when you can't and when it seems like they're on location, specifically in the wintertime, you buy the sets. And as for the clickers, the sound design, I liked it a lot. And the makeup. Oh my gosh, the makeup and the prosthetic work for the clickers. It's really impressive work, and I believe Emmy winning, if I'm not mistaken. I wish the story would have shown more of that threat of the clickers throughout the show. There didn't seem that much of a present threat throughout the show, and so therefore when things happen towards the end, or when we have huge decisions to make, it loses that weight a bit. It loses that weight of like, well, they're not that much of a threat, are they? Like, humans are worse, you know? And it's not only about the ending, but this is a survival story, right? Include the thing you're surviving from. You know what I'm saying? When it comes with the encounters with other humans, we got amazing acting shown from, for example, Nick Offerman, episode 3. That was great acting. From the worst pastor in the world. And what was it? Episode 8, I believe, which was one of my favorite episodes. In episode 5, we have the brothers. Yeah, and the show's got heart. Joe's arc of redemption, of this beautiful second chance he's got in his life. That's what the show is, right? Second chance, surviving, and a lot of questions throughout it about morality. Like, Joel's not a good guy. Not really. Or is he? I don't know. That's the thing. You could say he is, you could say he's not, and you'll have enough evidence for both sides. He's a very interesting character. But the heart of the writing really showcasing in the depth of relationships between Joe and Ellie, the brothers in episode 5, episode 3, Mr. Nick Offerman and his lover, and Joe and Tommy. When the writers are in their flow state in this show, man, some of this stuff can be very profound. And the acting sells it. My main critiques of the show, other than the ones I've already mentioned, are that there are a few episodes, 2 episodes to be exact, that have nothing to do with the central story. They are their own stories having to do with separate characters. Episode 3 being the better written one of them. Some of the best acting in the show being showcased in episode 3, right? But it's got nothing to do with the central story. I think what that one does well is showing that the hope can still be found even in such a dark place, which is relevant to the themes of the story. It's just nothing to do with the plot itself. And I think what would diminish my feeling of that is if there was more episodes of season 1 that focused on the main plot. There's only 7 episodes really where we're following Joe and Ellie of the 9. And so that rushes some things. It picks up the pace on things that I think should be slowed down a bit. And so for me, that's already a little bit of time for a big story that needs as much time, more time than it already has. So when the writers go on and we start taking time on this antagonist, who's just, I think, very poorly written, and she's on a quest for vengeance. And I think that whole thing was just a waste of time. The cinematography is good and the music is really good. I think it plays into the somberness and the sadness of the story really well. Speaking of that, the finale, the conclusion to the season, I thought was pretty strong. Joe's actions in this episode, like I said, you can defend them and you could also be fully against them, and you have enough evidence for either one. I do think they missed some details that I think should have been shown in the show that were placed in the game. Small details. You know what I'm talking about if you've played the game or anything like that. But still, as Joe is doing his thing, Pedro Pascal puts on a blank, merciless, ruthless persona. This guy is not losing his second chance, and he's not about to let someone he deeply cares about to get hurt again. And the music behind that as Joe is bulldozing through this place, it's a sad, somber instrumental, haunting I would say. It fits really well, where the creators know what they're doing in not glorifying what Joe is doing. Season 1 of The Last of Us is a weak A for me. This show is TVMA. It is very violent, gory at times, and some of the episodes deal with and show heavy stuff that can be very emotionally taxing. So just a heads up, I'm thinking specifically episode 5, the end of it, and episode 8, specifically one scene, and maybe others thrown out there, but those two have scenes that are very disturbing. Overall, the world is showcased really harsh. People of all ages are killed, whether by other people or by the clickers. The shooting, stabbings, of course, given the threat, sometimes the filmmakers and the TV creators are trying to give a frightening sense, a feel, you know, that sort of tone. There are some homosexual, heterosexual kissing scenes. Episode 3, there's a homosexual sex scene. And at the beginning of episode 2, you see frontal nudity of a woman, but it is not for any sexual reasons. Like I said, some of this stuff could be very intense, very heavy. In my opinion, the most disturbing aspects happen in episode 8. So just a heads up. And of course, there's strong profanity throughout the series. All right, let me know what you guys thought about The Last of Us Season 1. I'm about to go catch up and watch the first 2 episodes of Season 2. All right, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, comment. Let me know what you thought about this version of Joel and Ellie versus the video game ones, and what you think the strongest aspects of the show are and the weakest. Please like and subscribe if you want to watch more videos like these, man. We love talking about movies and shows over here. That's it. All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.